I'm unmuting it now. Okay. We're on. We are doing chapter 24 this week. We're going to go in order of people here, say our names, and then we're going to get prayed in. So I'm Mason.
Elaine, Lisa,
Luke, Sue,
Allie,
Tara,
And
Tanya.
And Tanya is going to pray us in.
Yay, Tanya.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, Tanya.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we come before you with grateful hearts, seeking your wisdom and guidance as we open your word today. Lord, as we study Matthew 24, there is so much here for us to learn. Help us to understand the truths that you reveal and your plans and purposes for us. Help our eyes to see your sovereignty and our ears to hear your call to faithfulness and readiness. Give us discernment as we delve into the signs of the times and promises of your return. May our conversation today deepen our trust in you and inspire us to live with hope. We surrender this time to you, Lord, and thank you for the gift of fellowship and opportunity to grow in your truth. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tanya. I missed you. All right.
No, you have that one there too.
What's up? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm leading this week, although I'm not sure how much I'm actually going to have to lead, because this chapter is pretty clear-cut, I think. Conversations are going to be much more interesting than anything I have to say about the chapter itself. So,
I see it was an easy chapter.
it really is. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're going to get through it all today. We might.
We're not going to.
There's less of us here than I thought there'd be.
There's no way.
We'll see. So. Am I on the right one? Yeah, okay. Elaine.
Yeah, start.
Could you please... Can you read from 1 to the end of 8?
Okay. Then Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came up to show him the buildings of the temples. And Jesus said to them, "Do you not see all these things? Assuredly, I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another that shall not be thrown down." Now, as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" And Jesus answered and said to them, "Take heed that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nations will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows."
So, we're living through it. we're getting there. There's also, I don't remember which verse is in Luke, unfortunately, but there's a verse in Luke where he specifically points out plagues as well.
Yeah, that's what a couple of them said. Pestilences doesn't mean bugs. It means diseases.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that.
Illnesses, bugs, anything that comes...
Rodents.
Could be rodents. Like anything that would come over like a wave, I guess.
COVID.
Yeah, that's...
one. And diseases. That was, I think, Brent said that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, COVID's...
Maybe it was...
Armstrong also.
Armstrong, yeah.
But he was doing... had so many.
Well, and that was what one of the pastors pointed out. These are things we live with. Like we've always had, since the beginning of time, they've had famines. They've had pestilence. None of this is new. It's how close they are together. And they're all at once.
We'll get to that part.
Okay.
Because it'll make a little more sense in a bit.
I heard somebody say that.
Bro, you think about it, right? The Black Plague.
Yeah,
those waves of rodents, bats, they're locusts, the killer bees. Like that.
That one didn't really go anywhere, but
just think about it. Hepatitis.
Well, guess what?
Typhoid.
Guess what it is now? Measles.
The bubonic plague.
I go to the doctor today. They didn't ask if you had COVID recently. Were you around anyone who had measles?
Really?
Yeah, I was. When I was a kid, all my family got them from each other. We all had them at one time.
They just put.
It's ridiculous.
The unapproved the vaccine for COVID, which is unapproved for anyone under 12, is now on the childhood
vaccine list.
Vaccine.
Yeah, they need to.
I can't imagine trying to have a child in this. The vaccine schedule.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it just last chapter that they said woe to the pregnant people who are pregnant? Like
At the
that's
time?
coming up. That's coming
But
up.
oh,
like
okay, that
in
wasn't
Turkey,
last. Okay.
That frost came and killed 80% of their crops in the whole country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
over in Turkey, right?
So that'll be a famine.
We call that a
famine.
If
pestilence.
something happens in California, look at all the fires in California.
Yep.
If,
wonder
if
fire counts as
something
a
more
pestilence.
happens in California, like that's where we get so many of our crops. Like that supplies a lot of our crops.
And wasn't it Joe who read off the earthquake list?
Yeah.
How
much
there
more
was only
and more
6
intense.
people killed, and then between 10 years, and the next 10 years there was maybe 5.
Oh, Armstrong did that too. Actually,
Did Armstrong do that too?
he did. He had a whole
Yeah,
graph. I wasn't watching his, but like I tuned in at one point. He had a graph up that it said like over time earthquakes of like middling. Like there's really tiny earthquakes that don't really do anything, and then there's like the crazy major ones.
Yeah.
But the graph of over
there
time,
was hundreds of thousands of people killed.
and it was like
And that one that just happened in...
it goes from reading like a couple hundred a year to like a couple thousand a year to like
Hundreds
2,000, and then it jumps from 3,000 to 5,000.
Yeah. It was amazing.
And that was back in 2020.
It's been getting worse.
So Turkey just had a major one.
Yeah. And
He's
there's
hitting Turkey hard.
20, 30, 40,000.
There must be a reason.
Yeah, so it's not only how often, but how many people, like the severity of it.
Right.
Also, wars will break out near and far, but don't panic. We can really come back to that later because that's not something you really want to tell someone for comfort, and yet
Well, we've always had wars too.
Yep.
We've
We've never been without a war on the planet.
Yeah, and
But
so
it's more
go
so
ahead.
looking at like what's happening in the
Mhm.
Middle East,
Right.
watching that.
So I can't imagine any time in the past, I would say, I don't know, 300 years where you couldn't feel like he's coming tomorrow. You know what I mean? With everything that's happened, with everything, for a long time. So while we can't predict it, I can't imagine any time in the, like I said, 200-300 years where they're not like, because of everything that has gone on. But since Israel became a nation again, to me that was like,
I know, but there was even some discrepancy about that. I heard the pastors weren't quite on the same page with that. I think a little differently now about that, like that generation.
Now, Joe and Brett were the same.
Yeah.
They said that they thought it was 40 years, but then there was a passage in one of the other and one of the other Gospels are in Thessalonians or something.
Well, for
Thessalonians.
400 years.
Yeah, where it's when you break it down, it was 400 years and it was 4 generations. So actually, a generation is probably 100 years, but that nobody knows.
But they said we don't really know.
Yeah,
Right.
nobody knows.
And then
Yeah.
the Armstrong, that's later.
No.
But he said it could just mean, where did I put that? That it's when that Jewish people, generation can mean tribe, and tribe could mean Israel. So that Israel will never disappear.
It never has.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
The jump.
Okay, we'll wait till we get there.
Yeah, it does come up later. So
Yeah. Okay, we'll wait till we get there.
we're excited. Is the problem?
We are. We
Is
want to
we're
get
excited.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
So let's read a little more.
Well, let's just talk about the first paragraph before you move on.
Oh yeah. Okay, so he was preaching in this temple, and as they're leaving the temple, his disciples were like admiring it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at how amazing this temple is. It was supposed to be the home of God. So they're just, as they're leaving, they're like, and we've done this. Like, we're leaving the ark, and we're just like, wow, that was so cool. And it's like, look at it from the distance now. This human to just like remember even when you're right there. And then Jesus turns around and says, this is going to be rubble.
Yeah, it's good.
This is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
It took 50 years to build it. They still weren't done, and these big rocks that they had to move. Like, they knew how many people it took, and 50 years?
But God has no timeline.
Not that we understand.
A day is a year is a millennium. It's
But the
Not one stone will be left on
Right.
top of the other. That's a level of destruction that we can't even fathom.
right.
And do you know why that was? Because I didn't know this, because there was gold laid in between apparently, and the Romans were scraping the gold. Am I wrong? I could be wrong.
That
Well,
might be.
there was gold.
I mean, that might be part of the reason it gets
Yeah,
destroyed.
That's why every stone was turned, because they were scraping the gold
Oh,
that was in
Oh,
between.
okay, I see what you're saying now.
bricks, like in between
And God
the
knew
stones.
that.
oh yeah,
And
leaving
God
the
knew
stone
that.
unturned.
Yes,
That's
why.
I didn't know
Because they
that.
were
That's
stealing
really
gold.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
that's awesome.
That was a
Or
joke.
maybe, yeah.
I don't listen to Joe. I don't know his website.
I have it on my phone.
Oh, okay, Athey Creek.
Sometimes he's really on, but other times he can drone on a bit.
I really like
I liked him the one time I listened. to
This
him.
one he was I liked him better than
Good
I
night.
liked Brett, and
Good night.
I usually like Brett a lot, but I actually liked him.
You're
on
up
this
next to
one
read.
better
Did
than
either
Brett.
one of them say how, point out that this is what we're supposed to take away from this?
I think so.
yes.
I think they did. Yeah.
It's yet another lesson in don't focus on the earthly things.
Right.
Yeah.
Like something you think would never disappear.
Like, this thing is so grand, so amazing. How could it ever disappear?
Yeah, that was something that
In
the
an
apostles
instant.
couldn't even fathom. And it would be kind of like, I think Armstrong or one of them said, it's like, how long's the White House going to be here? How long's the Capitol going to? Nothing lasts forever. Nothing except heaven lasts forever.
I think what Brett pointed out, that it's just another way that Jesus is always right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Like
He
that he
did.
said, every
I
stone's
like that.
unturned, and every stone was overturned.
Yep, just showed that he's never wrong. Yeah,
Sorry, I kind of listened to all these like in a row, so even my thoughts on this are a little unorganized.
yeah, that's okay.
Also, many will come in my name saying, I am the Messiah. Do we know? Has that happened yet? Like, I mean, I'm probably in like small
On
small
like
settings.
a crazy psycho level. So like you had Koresh, you had Jim Jones.
Right?
Yeah, well, no, I don't think he's going to claim to be Jesus. I think he's going
No.
to claim to be better than Jesus.
He's going to claim to be, and then this is what I like that both of them said.
Place
'Cause
of
I
Christ.
always
That's
thought,
the Antichrist. In
Yeah.
place of Christ.
I always thought this,
You're right.
that that there are many antichrists. There's one main
Oh,
antichrist,
that's interesting.
but there's many antichrists. And
There's an
then
Antichrist spirit.
it's the spirit of the antichrist.
Oh, wow.
The antichrist isn't just like one person; that there are several throughout history. Which I was like, yes, because I always thought that.
How the spirit of Jesus is in all of us.
Right. The spirit of not Jesus can be in people. He's right.
They also said that this was, I thought was interesting, and this was Brett. He said that our thought process, us putting other things or other thoughts in front of Christ is, or if you're living an anti-Jesus way of life, that's almost like your antichrist.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
So, I just looked it up because I was curious. And I meant to do this the other night, and I just didn't. But, apparently there are at least 7 well-known claims of people claiming they were either Jesus reincarnated, or just another Messiah.
Is one of them Oprah?
I have not gotten through the list yet.
She's spiritual.
Henri Cristo of Brazil. And here he is dressed in the robe and the red sash, claiming to be Jesus reincarnated. And all of these people on this list have had a following.
Oh, wow.
Which is upsetting.
Yeah.
But also, it's right here. It's right here.
Right here it is.
I would not be surprised if they were, like, if you laid them out on a timeline, if that timeline was just getting shorter with each one. Big gap, smaller gap, smaller gap, smaller gap. I just closed the list. Never mind. So, I hit the
That was
button.
helpful.
Yep. 7 so far. We're up to 7 as far as Google's concerned.
Oh, there's been a lot more.
I'm sure. But, like, having a following versus, like, being on your own in high school and being like, by the way, I'm Jesus.
Was that one that made up that people will drink the stuff and die?
Jim Jones.
I don't think that was...
Oh, the Waco guy?
Was he claiming to be Jesus?
The Waco guy was on fire. I'm like nuts with all this stuff. The Waco guy was where the place went on fire. Jim Jones was the one where they went to South America, created their own commune, and then when he knew he was getting caught, and they shot a congressman who went to go like save people because people were trying to leave and he wasn't allowing them to leave. And then he had everyone commit suicide and had like forced people, like they were chasing them down and squirting vials of the Kool-Aid down their mouth.
Well, also that prophet from Utah.
Oh, the guy who married like a gazillion girls, the Mormon guy. Saying, yeah, I know who you're talking about. He was like marrying 12-year-olds. Yeah.
Wait, the Waco guy claimed to be Christ?
Yeah, the Waco. His name was David Koresh, and it was in Texas back in the 90s. And at first he claimed that he was a preacher, and then as he got more of a following, he claimed to be God.
See, the only reason I know what Waco is because I saw a clip of it, like somebody talking about how it was really messed up on YouTube years and years ago. And then I play a game on the PlayStation called Rainbow Six Siege, and they have a map that's actually based off of the house there.
I know what he's talking about. That's so stupid.
It was very sad. It was very sad.
Yeah.
So, I have one as early as 2007, as late as 2007, which is just some dude named David Shaler in England. He was an MI5 agent, which is like kind of Secret Service-y type thing. Former MI5 agent and whistleblower. This David Shaler declared himself as the Messiah in 2007 and now occasionally preaches as his cross-dressing alter ego Dolores Kane. Shaler says his partial identity as a woman gives the Messiah practical insight into the world from a female perspective.
Oh my goodness.
That's alarming.
Yeah.
He has a following? He has a following?
He joined the 9/11 Truth Movement, which claims that the World Trade Center attacks were not perpetrated by Osama bin Laden. I've heard enough.
Yeah.
Let's get back
To
our.
What's interesting, I'm not going to read any others on this list, but what's interesting is seeing they're all in different parts of the world. There was one in South Africa, one in
Brazil.
the one in Brazil, England. Then there was just another one in Africa. Like, they're all over the place, and that's really interesting to me. Anyway.
So, and then the second, like, where is the Mount of Olives?
Where Jesus is arrested, right?
Well, and that's where Jesus went, and it said the disciples. Now, some of them said, well, I think the pastors agreed it wasn't all 12.
No, it was like John, James,
Peter,
and one other one.
And yeah, one of them said Andrew.
Okay, yeah, Andrew, that's right.
Like it didn't have, and then what did they ask? Was it 3 questions or just 2? They wanted to know. I mean, if this temple's going to fall, I want to know when. Right?
Yeah.
And what are the signs of the end of the age?
So when and what are the
signs
times?
of the end of the age?
When do we have to get our crap
signs
together?
Jesus is coming and the end of the age.
Yeah.
Well, for them, it wasn't
That's
Jesus is
them
coming.
I don't think for them it was Jesus is coming, was it?
No, because
You are coming.
they didn't know. That's interesting. I guess the version Armstrong read didn't have that part because. Yeah, your return. Mine says that too.
It says, tell us, they said, when will this happen and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?
Right. And some, they don't want you to think that's 3 different questions. The signs is one question, and the coming, when is one question, and then the signs of his coming and the end of the age are related.
That's 3 questions.
Yeah, now my
They're one and the same.
yeah.
Are the same.
My study Bible has the disciples asked 2 questions. 1, when will these things be? And 2, what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
It's a 2-parter because the end of the age and the your coming back is one thing.
They lead. The one leads to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and they thought the end of the age was coming, the end of the world. If that temple's going down, the end of the world's coming.
Well, also he did just say to them very recently that temple was going to be nothing. They're probably thinking, when should we not be here?
AD 70. It's taken down.
And most of them were actually gone by then.
It's the assumption that if something so crazy is going to happen that temple will be reduced to basically ash, it must be something that can end the world.
Yeah. And the next verse 8, all these are the beginnings of sorrows. You know what that means? Sorrows?
Yeah, it's like sadness or like deaths. Hold on, if I
The beginning of the end.
yeah, birth pains.
Right. Is that what yours said? Birth pains. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was coming up later.
Huh? That's verse 8.
Mine says the beginnings of the horrors to come.
Okay.
I thought the birthing pains thing was going to be mentioned later.
Birth pains.
But it's here. It's that, and that's what we were saying. How those things, because this is where they referred to other verses in other books, saying that there's a restrainer. Something's restraining these things right now.
That's us.
The church. So all believe the church is restraining these things from how do they word it? There will be an increase, and then we will see them be unrestrained. So they're going to increase, and then all of a sudden it's going to just be unbearable. And that is something's restraining all these things now.
Holy Spirit.
Which is one of the theories that this is where, as the church, that leads to the rapture. That once the church is taken up, Jesus comes down for us, and then everything's gonna be unrestrained.
Explodey.
Yeah. So that it doesn't say it in this verse, but a cross reference, which I thought. And then I wrote here, then the opening of the seals in Revelation starts. So after the rapture and everything's unrestrained, then the opening of the seals. Yeah. And one of the pastors said, like, oh, was it?
I'm so grateful we won't be here.
Which one was it? He talked about the war. How much money was that Joe?
I think so.
Oh my gosh. That was so, how much money is spent on weapons?
Yeah.
And no country has ever developed a weapon that they haven't used.
Yeah.
And that the stuff he was saying, you can't even imagine. Like some kind of nuclear thing coming out of space and going so deep and blowing up such a big area that you have nothing would survive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's old school now. There's stuff now in the ocean.
It's bad.
Don't worry about it coming from the space. Worry about it coming. I'm like, how does he know?
Well, they have
something called the Rod of God.
Yeah.
The Rods of God. Look that up, he said.
I actually was just going to bring that up. It's literally, I don't know if it was the Rods of God specifically, but basically it's giant metal, basically needles in space that they will just launch at a surface, and the force it hits that surface with, it's not even a bomb. It's just a giant metal stick.
You use kinetic.
But it hits the ground so hard it causes an explosion.
The things they can do that we don't even know about is horrible.
This is the thing I've realized about,
50% of our budgets in all countries are spent on, and I look at over there Gaza. All that money that we spent over there for...
You mean the money we gave to Hamas?
Yeah, to Gaza.
All of the aid that we gave to Hamas.
Yes, all that went for weaponry.
It's
building the tunnels, building this.
Right, it was supposed to be for
food.
And, you know...
That's usually what happens.
Right, but Hamas seized it all, so... And we let them.
Yeah.
It's this thing about science where once you do something for the first time, you can then reverse engineer it and then figure out how to do it, but on a smaller or a bigger scale.
Yeah,
and now we've gotten so good at dropping things that now we have caused bombs from it.
And you can take a plane out with a drone, a 10-foot.
One good shot, yeah.
So,
all right.
So is that where we ended 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're good to move on a little bit. Hey, Luke. Could you please read from 9... read from 9 to 14. Read 14 as well.
Alright. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people because of the increase of wickedness. The love of the most will grow cold, but the ones who stand, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come.
Okay, thank you, Luke. So, persecution is nothing new to Christianity. It's just going to be worse, harder, faster.
And what time are we talking about?
All of them.
Tribulation.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be real bad during then, too.
Well, yeah, because mine says this, they will deliver you up to tribulation.
Is that your verse 9?
And you will hate it.
Yeah, verse 9.
Verse 9, yeah.
Or was he talking just to the disciples at that time? Letting them know what was going to happen just to them.
That we got to talk about that. Who is the you in verse 9?
I mean, I would assume he's talking to all...
I think he's talking to the disciples.
Yeah, but persecution of Christians is all throughout the Bible, too. I think it can apply to both.
I think it can apply to both. I'm just saying, in this moment, was he thinking just of them, or was he explaining to them, with the you, is it you, or you eternally?
Was he ever thinking of just them?
I think it would. Yeah, I think it's all of us.
But put it in context. What were we talking about before?
Yeah.
We were talking about
Earthquakes,
rumors,
famines.
The whole earth. The whole...
the leading up to The
end
worst time ever. Tribulation.
Tribulation. And so they're not
Are the
gonna-
disciples alive during the tribulation?
No,
So why would he be telling them?
I understand. I'm just saying, like, at that moment, when I read it, I can see it both ways.
And I think it does go both ways.
You can feel like alive multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
But
Like most of what he says.
the apostles aren't around,
But they are persecuted.
They are, yeah, they do go through their own
right?
tribulation.
But that this is where you have to learn not to take it out of context.
I don't feel like I'm taking it out.
I
I
don't
don't
think
either.
it's a dual. It has that dual meaning. I don't think the pastors, any of the pastors, thought that. I think they all agreed. This is just talking to the future Israel, because it talks. Because a little bit below it talks about Judea and but they're not going to be around. The apostles are not anywhere around.
Well, to be fair, they asked what are the signs of the end, so he couldn't just be telling them that part.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but then they will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you. And because they're talking about the Antichrist before that. For many will come and about the Antichrist. See that you're not troubled. They all agreed that you was Israel. Israel and the Jews. And that these are those who are alive in the last days of Israel.
That's alright. We can step
Well,
forward a
14,
bit.
Also, the way 14 is, this gospel, the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
See, he's telling them because they asked, but this is really for the future as well.
Right. Yeah. Doesn't really
But-
apply to them. It's not going to apply to them. They're not going to understand that. But we,
That's
looking
fine.
back, can know that now they're all dead. That they might have thought he was talking about.
So there are people all around the world who just hate Christians because they are Christians. They hate the title. They hate what it means. But it's going to get worse. As there are less and less of us, we're going to become much more hated and many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. We're seeing that now too. Can't even go to the store without someone yelling at you. On much bigger scales too, and that also is like leading into the wars and everything. It's all this hate. Many false.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to say both prophets. Both pastors really smacked me in the face because I think it was actually both of them talked about watching the news and being a news junkie and getting he's like Joe said, I feel myself doing it. You just get angry and then you have to turn it off and you have to not look at while you should be a watchman. You shouldn't let your heart get hardened. And I know there's been many times that I have allowed my heart to get hardened where I'm just like, I can't stand anyone, like everybody's horrible, and it kind of gave me a different perspective. It was nice.
Yeah, and I think if once we read through all of that, we should talk about that more.
Tanya sent a message
Once we read through all this.
talking about verse 9. In Greek, the version of the word you that they use is in then you will be arrested, persecuted. That word is in the second person plural form, as in addressing a group. So, in that moment, he was speaking specifically to his disciples, but it's also widely interpreted as speaking to the future and to them. Speaking, in essence, to his people altogether.
Mm-hmm. Israel
Yeah.
Yep.
and the Jews. Not all of other people, not anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, many false prophets will appear. That's happened. That's happened a lot. We had one of them in our chat one time. So I can't remember.
About Wesley.
Okay, I was gonna say I can't remember his name, but I'm sure Tara can.
Wesley.
So what happened to you?
Oh, you weren't there for that. We'll tell you about that later.
Yeah.
Remind us.
Yeah, please remind us to talk to you about Wesley.
Like in the Discord thing?
Yeah.
Or
No, in a live stream.
In the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I knew which episode that was. I could go back and read his comments. Anyway, that's very mean of us, actually.
Oh
So-
yeah, because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold.
That is scary. Now Armstrong pointed out that that's like the scariest thing he's read in the Bible.
Well, that's happening.
That love love of many will grow cold.
Oh, that you see that. I mean, people are just since since COVID.
Well, I think
People
that's what
don't
you were
wanna be
talking
around
about.
people.
Listening to the news and stuff. That and the warning to us is we're not to let ourselves grow cold. We're not to get sidetracked away from our mission and get caught up in the news. And that was very interesting.
I'm still going to be a watchman though and make my phone calls.
That's fine.
I won't ever
In the
stop.
gospel, okay.
Just go about it in a godly way.
I do. I'm very
There you
nice.
go.
I don't scream anymore.
Good. Anymore?
No, I used to. I used to scream a lot. I
Good.
don't scream anymore though.
Good.
I know. It's wonderful.
But just think of that. The love of many will grow cold. Yeah, we're seeing it happen, but like, there's still people out there. There's still
Go ahead.
there's still people that are like helping others, and there's still people that are like organizing charity events and going out there, giving back to the community, giving.
But what you see on the news
Draws money.
is people going on vacation and leaving their 18-month-old home alone in a crib.
Yeah, I can't. Or women jumping into rivers holding both of their children. Like that's no.
There's no love.
Right.
They're cold. There's no.
I honestly think there's sometimes where people are possessed. I mean, I
Oh, yeah.
'cause there's no way. Like some of these mothers, especially lately, you can't go from being like this loving mother to doing what some of these people are doing. It just doesn't. It doesn't add up.
Cold marriages,
Yeah.
cold parenting,
Yeah.
like no connection to people. That's what the next generation is. They're
Yeah.
attached to nothing.
No
No sentiment,
compassion.
no compassion,
And but all the compassion for the wrong things.
no
Yeah.
connection for nothing is, there is a complete disregard for everything but themselves. That is a cold love.
Well, and the generations that don't want to even watch, they don't even care what's going on. They're just living for themselves,
Yeah.
self-absorption, serving themselves. And even, I've been feeling sometimes, why bother? All I hear, there's no hope. Why bother? Just, forget it. I'm not getting involved. Why bother? But we can't, because of so much. Well, just with what's going on with the judicial system and, it's lawlessness. Nobody's held accountable for anything today.
Not if you have a certain
So
amount of money.
so
and
people just say, well, what's it matter? They have, we don't really have control.
No.
We don't have any control. Okay,
Those who endure to the end will be saved.
where are you at?
That is verse 13.
Oh,
So that's an interesting one, because obviously salvation is supposed to be through faith, not through works, and this kind of like implies that if you can make it through the tribulation, you'll be saved regardless.
I think if you make it through the tribulation, you will know God.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
right?
say. Like,
yeah, but he who endures the tribulation through the tribulation
Right.
to the end, meaning
there will not be
they
a person.
continue in their faith.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
faithful,
So,
shall be saved.
right. So those tribulation saints, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to start to believe and then they get taken up. They got to make it through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is going to be bad because of all that's going to be going on. And when you get to the mark of the beast, that's where it's really going to get where you're going to have some decisions to make, and it could be your soul.
But also, you could maybe take that to mean that just those who endure to the end of their own lives, like it's about
and don't have their hearts hardened.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that that's not true. You don't get them by just enduring.
That's what I mean. Like if you are in this, you're assuming he's talking to his people anyway, people that already would be saved.
Right. But they have to make
if you make it through, you will be saved.
They will
Just
automatically
because you were left behind doesn't mean you're not saved.
Right.
Do not harm.
Can you imagine? Just your friends who are not like your friends who are not believers
will be saved.
When we all go,
But not if you're not a non-believer. You won't be saved.
are they going to go?
I think a lot of
Or
people
are they going to believe the AI stories and the UFOs and?
I think a lot of them will. I think, like, I've already had the conversation with my boys, even Michael, and even he has said, "Well, yeah, Mom, if like a bunch of people disappear, then I know I was wrong." So at least I have that. Michael,
That's
like
good.
I keep telling him, I'm like, dude, like it's not you. There's a reason why there's all of a sudden now there's aliens. I said to me,
they're getting you ready.
well, that and they may even honestly think it's aliens, and to me, it's demons. Like it's not because there's no such thing as aliens. Those aliens just could be demons, and they think that they're aliens.
That's an interesting one I hadn't really considered. Because my thing is, if there are aliens, they're not in the Bible, so we're not really meant to deal with them.
No, exactly.
So it's like not our problem.
No.
And it would just be God doing stuff on a different planet that has nothing to do with us. Let him. He's God. Who cares? But that's an interesting one. Just saying that they're demons.
Yeah, because they say they see things that they can't explain and how fast it moves, and they don't understand, and they think they're aliens. When
They're trying to
demons
the whole
doing that.
CERN thing. They're playing with other dimensions. They're calling it, and they've actually communicated. It's so weird. They've actually communicated with something, and they can't figure out what it is. And they're trying to find out what dark matter is. Like there's some things you're just not supposed to do or know. And
Well, I find it interesting, like when they show like hikers, and from far away they look at another mountain and they see a giant walking.
yeah.
Is it
could
real?
say that's
Is it not
hallucination, but like...
Is it AI?
You can't trust anything anymore.
Right. Is it a demon?
I saw something
Is it-
years ago.
You know, you can't.
Recently.
So there are people that say like psychics,
Yeah.
who have what that psychic truly believes is a vision or an encounter or whatever. Like when you meet a psychic, like when Deanne was on with John Edwards, and my grandmother came and they taught, and it was stuff only my grandmother would know, and all of these things. And somebody said, "Demon."
Demon?
He was talking to a demon.
I went to see one when I was young, and my dad said the same thing. He's like, "That wasn't your mom." He's like, "That was a demon." And
Right,
they
like-
knew lots of things.
So it changes my perspective on what I've seen, what I've encountered, what I've read about, like all of those things. That's really scary.
yeah, it is because there's a lot of kids that are into that kind of stuff that toy around with it and don't realizing what portals they could possibly be opening. And the psychics really think that they're helping people. They truly do.
But here's my thing. So, if it says the dead do not communicate with the living, right? That's what the Bible says.
Yeah.
What benefit would a demon get from coming into my dream as my dad and giving me a hug and leaving?
I don't.
Well,
I think a dream is
so-
different.
well, hold on.
Is it?
So
Yeah,
hold
I
on.
think so.
You say the dead. The dead don't communicate with the living. People in heaven or people who are believers aren't dead. Only their bodies are dead.
They're sleeping.
No, that's...
I'm just saying, like,
So,
I can understand that perspective, but
what I'm saying
it would
is,
do a demon no good to have come in and visited me in my dream.
so we as Christians believe that we will go on after our bodies die to live forever with God, correct? Mm-hmm. That's not death.
Well, it's well, the whole premise of not talking to the dead comes from Lazarus. The story, I think it's the story of Lazarus, where he's very, very rich. He passed. It's not Lazarus. I can't remember his name.
No, Lazarus was the servant. This is the guy.
This guy was very rich. He was very stingy, and then his brother dies and goes to hell.
Yeah.
And his brother is doing the same thing. His brothers are doing the same thing, and then what he begs, I guess it's Jesus or God, I can't remember the exact thing.
I think it was an angel.
Yeah.
He was begging an angel to allow.
Saying, please just let me warn my brothers so they don't ever come to this place, and they said that's why they have the book.
I'm thinking different.
The living and the dead are not to communicate with one another.
Well, but what I'm saying is, if your father was a believer, which we know he was, he's not dead. So if the dead don't communicate with the living, he's not dead. Who cares?
You're saying the dead would be the unbelieving.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure about in a dream.
Because I have a...
That's a mystery.
Yeah, that's a bit of a mystery.
Let me tell you.
I've had one like that too, where my Aunt Ellen, who was actually my grandmother's aunt, very old woman, one of the nicest women you'd ever meet in your life. Now, I'd say that about my grandmother. I didn't know my Aunt Ellen super well, but every time I saw her, it was nice. She was always smiling. When she died, I believe it was when you were in the hospital, or you were here. She had her leg acting up. She was basically living here for a couple months. Towards the end of those couple months, I was staying with my grandmother, and Aunt Ellen died. And I had a dream. I thought I woke up. In my dream, I sat up from the bed I was laying in. I sleep with my shirt off, so I had my shirt off. I actually thought I just woke up. Super bright. There's one window in the room. Super bright from the window. I'm like, oh my god, what time is it? I go to check my phone, and there's just a woman in the room that I don't recognize. And she's smiling at me exactly like my Aunt Ellen did, and I knew it was her, but it did not look like her. I can't remember it now. I couldn't describe her to you, but and she's just smiling at me, and I'm like, "Hi." I remember
she stared at you at your party.
I pulled up my blanket because I didn't have my shirt on. Like, hi, and she's like, "Hi, I'm just checking on you." And I said, I'm pretty good. How are you? She's like, I'm good. Tell your grandmother I'm doing okay. I'm like, okay. And then I actually woke up and the room was dark because it was 6 a.m.
But here we are. That's what I'm saying. Like,
what does a demon get from that?
But I do understand what you're saying about those are everlasting.
I think there's a difference between someone being a medium and trying to communicate with the dead in a dream. That there's a big difference.
I'm just saying, like, it alters my perspective on those things. You know, Mason heard his father's voice in church.
I did.
After he died.
I did do that. That was bad.
Like
on Mother's Day, no less.
I'm just saying, like,
Tanya's quoting.
I think it's all demonic. I think it's certainly the bulk of it is.
Well, I would love that because I'm into all that kind of stuff. It was very hard for me to get away from it. I went on ghost hunters.
My point being that if they're a believer, they're not technically dead. The Bible tells us this multiple times. So I think if it's a believer trying to communicate to us, I think that's fine. I think if it's someone we know is not a believer, that's a demon. Tanya, sorry.
Tanya and I are communicating.
Yes, I'm going to read it. So Tanya has been sending messages. Tribulation saints endure intense persecution under the reign of the Antichrist and the global upheaval of the tribulation. Despite these challenges, they remain steadfast in their faith. Tribulation saints are a testament to God's grace and the power of the gospel, even in the darkest times. They are often seen as part of the fulfillment of God's promise to preserve a faithful remnant that we learned about in Romans. Lisa said, and also Revelation 7. Then when we were talking about the Lazarus thing, Tanya said, I was trying to think of Petra from Isaiah. if anybody gets that. And also found
Yeah,
in
that's where, that's where they run to in the end during the middle of the tribulation when Jesus says, and then they need to run. They need
To the mountains or
to
whatever.
the mountains. Yeah, that's
We should read that.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Let's keep reading.
She's not even limping.
So then also the book of Samuel when Saul summons Samuel. 1 Samuel 28, not to summon spirits. Does somebody know where Samuel is?
Yeah.
Well, and that falls in line with what we're talking about, like going
That's
to
true. Actually, it's a little
medium.
bit of
a medium,
Yeah.
and not to summon
First
spirits.
That's okay. We don't have to read it because it's a little bit of a
Like I
tangent.
said, it's just something that.
There's 2 books of Samuel.
Nice.
First and second.
Oh, 1 Samuel 28.
All right, are we going to 15?
Yeah. We're gonna move on.
We're going on? Okay.
We went on a bit of a tangent.
Okay, let's read. Yeah.
What do you want me to read to?
15 to. Let's flee the hills.
28.
Uh,
The whole thing.
do you mind reading that much, Sue? Down to the end of 28?
28, the end of 28, okay.
15 through 28.
Now, I just want to point out something that my Bible's doing, which I've never seen before. Look, this is all
Yeah.
Jesus talking. Does yours do this?
Yeah,
In
reader,
black,
pay attention.
It says, in parentheses,
Reader,
it says,
pay attention.
reader, pay attention.
Mine has that too.
Oh,
Does
really?
Actually, those exact words, reader, pay attention.
Yeah.
Where?
At the very end of 15.
Yeah, at the end of 15
that's
it
fine.
says that.
Oh,
Okay.
so does mine, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Whoever
Oh, so
reads.
does mine.
Mine says let the
Yours
reader
says-
understand. Mine says let the reader
That's what mine
understand.
says.
So
Yeah,
who
mine
was
says let
the
the reader understand?
Mine
Who
says
was-
whoever reads, let him understand.
who was the author
So
of
this is
Matthew?
important-
Was it
important.
Matthew?
Oh, she says I miss you all. She's
Yeah.
laughing at us.
So Matthew,
Yeah.
who wrote Matthew?
Matthew,
Oh,
right?
we missed her.
I
Oh,
think
we missed
Matthew
you
did.
too.
Didn't all
That's
the
what I-
gospels-
that's
didn't
what I
they
think,
all write
right?
Their own gospels, right?
So that would mean this is Matthew being like, anyone who's reading this in the future,
Pay
this!
Warning.
Sound the alarms.
Okay, I'm going to read now. Okay.
Reader, pay attention.
The day is coming when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about. The sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place. Reader, pay attention. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. A person out of the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return even to get a coat. How terrible it will be for the pregnant woman and for nursing mothers in those days. And pray that your flight will not be in winter or on the Sabbath, for there will be greater anguish than at any time since the world began, and it will never be so great again. In fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person will survive, but it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. Then, if anyone tells you, look, here is the Messiah, or this is he, don't believe it, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you about this ahead of time. So if someone tells you, look, the Messiah is out in the desert, don't bother to go out and look, or look, he is hiding there. Don't believe it. For as the lightning flashes in the east and shines to the west, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. Just as the gathering of vultures show there is a carcass nearby, so these signs indicate that the end is near.
So, yeah, this it's pretty important. This is straight up instructions from Jesus.
Where did she end?
28.
28.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems like some of our versions have a bit of a difference. Like,
Yeah. That was a good.
Yeah, not much.
I like that. Mine's we call the term mine uses for the Antichrist is abomination of desolation.
Mm-hmm.
That's more like yours said it a little different.
Sacrilegious object that causes desecration in the holy place.
So he's actually going to stand. It says he's standing in the holy place, and he's going to claim to be Christ or the next Savior, Messiah.
And it says, if those days had not been cut short, no one would survive, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened.
So basically,
Yeah,
that's
I didn't hear anybody comment on that.
yeah. I got it. Armstrong did.
Okay. Armstrong did. Okay.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it's pretty. I feel like it's spelled out. It's the tribulation. So it's the 7 years. Basically, if God's wrath were to just continue as it was, if the world was going to continue beyond that time period, there would not be a person left.
So it was shortened to the 7 years.
Yes,
Okay.
because if it goes any further, nothing will survive.
Because I didn't get to listen to all of it.
Because if we're going to inhabit Earth after this, if this were to go on any longer, it would not be habitable. So that the reason it only lasts those 7 years is so that we can be in the kingdom with Jesus.
Yeah, and I think the Great Tribulation was shortened. I think they're referring to the Great Tribulation being shortened to 3.5 years.
And that's the second half of the 7 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's when what's going to happen the first 3.5 years?
it's going to be
You know,
great.
The 7-year tribulation
Everything's gonna go to chaos, right?
at the end of the 7. We're halfway through. It's going to get
Yeah,
really
basically they're going to have a
It's gonna
pretty.
be-
The first 3.5 years are not that bad.
No, he's proclaiming he's going to bring peace to the area.
Right. He brings peace to
All
the earth.
Israel. Oh,
He solves a lot of famines and, like,
yeah,
he does miracles like Christ and all that.
I don't remember. See, I've only really learned about the rapture from.
What we talk about.
right. So that's what this is leading up to that.
But we won't be here for it.
So if there's ever anybody that brings peace, like true peace to the Middle East, whoever gets the Middle East to do that, that's the Antichrist.
It's the Middle East.
Like, so, like, let's say you know how Israel and all the
All those
countries
countries over
around
there
Israel,
are
how they
fighting.
always fight. There's going to be a person, there's going to be the Antichrist who's going to bring peace, and everyone's going to think it's wonderful because it's the first time there's ever going to be peace
And they signed a
amongst
treaty
all those.
for 7
They
years.
sign a 7-year treaty.
Yeah.
And whoever does that, that person is the
And
Antichrist.
I think all the pastors agreed it's going to be a European Jew.
Yeah.
Because Israel will never follow a Muslim or
Neither would.
Arab
Yeah.
or-
I don't think most Christians.
It would have to
either.
be outside.
No.
Or, you know what's weird, and I don't know how realistic this is, I have heard people say AI.
Well,
it could be,
that's
I
Yeah,
have
I
heard
think they
people
talk-
say,
yeah.
and I think with the one world view of things, I could see that because we're getting away from,
But how
God.
does a computer brain?
because it's so
Well,
intelligent.
could they have all these robots now?
Tanya's
Could be
chatting.
what?
Tanya's chatting. She's
Oh.
got something
okay.
to say.
Tanya's
It comes out
leaving.
of- I do believe it says that it comes out of
We'll
Europe.
pray for you,
Yeah,
Tanya.
that's true.
Guys, I'm getting really tired of having a coughing fit. It was a joy to join you all tonight. Love you and miss you.
Okay, see you. Thanks.
Maybe next week, babe.
You'll be in our
Feel
prayers.
better.
Yeah, hope you feel better.
But,
We'll pray for you tonight.
I do have a little thing to go with you guys with the dream stuff. So I feel like dreams, like where they're good, I feel like those are people from heaven, right? Like Mason with his Aunt Helen, you with your dad. But I feel like nightmares are from demons.
Well, I think it would depend, because a demon would absolutely give you a good dream if it would lead you astray.
Yep.
A dream you perceive as good, but isn't actually good in the grand scheme of things.
And I think there's a reason we don't remember our dreams, but I think there's a reason that when you have something profound happen in a dream in that manner, it matters.
But that's fine. So, instructions from Jesus. Just as soon as the Antichrist does his thing, get out. Go to Judea. Don't grab anything, just go.
Right.
Wherever you are, just go.
And they're where are they going?
To Petra.
Right, and who's
All right, that's it.
who's the you
so
here?
cool.
The
Who's
Jews, the elect.
Oh, and Jordan. The wall thing. In
so
Jordan.
Israel, all of Israel,
Yes.
Yeah,
all of
So wait.
Israel. One word. Sorry.
I was
Okay.
Talking about Petra.
we finished the PSSAs that I was reading an Almanic book, and it was talking about Petra, and it had a whole bunch of pictures of it.
Oh, wow.
And now you're bringing it up.
Yeah, and Petra was a
That's
huge
neat.
place. I didn't realize that. There was 300,000 people they think living there at one time. This Petra is not small.
And
There's
it's
all
on the
these
side of the-
tubes in the hillside. There's this
Did you
big,
see that?
you know.
But you're saying when the rapture, like when it happens.
This is 3.5 years into the rapture already. This is nothing we have to worry about.
So okay, let's back up. So all things, the labor pains are going to get closer and closer and closer. All these earthquakes, all this badness in the world, it's just going to get worse but we're restraining it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's restraining it?
The Holy Spirit.
No,
God.
no. Us, the believers, the church. It's not church isn't a building. It's believers. It's people. We're keeping the bad restrained somewhat.
See, when you say that we're the church, that kind of makes sense because
Yeah,
they were.
they didn't meet in buildings back then. They didn't have churches as a building.
And then just following
yeah.
Jesus.
They met in houses, but they eventually had temples and all that. But
Yeah.
the early church
Yeah.
didn't. The Jewish people had
The
temples, but not the Christians. They met in the homes. So then God says He's coming down and He's going to take all of the Christians, all the believers, even Jew believers, are going to be taken up to heaven. That's the rapture. So now that all these people are missing,
That are
okay?
filled with the Holy Spirit.
Yes, that are
All
filled
the
with
good people are gone.
Yes. What's going to happen? Chaos. People aren't going to, and that was one thing they pointed out that, like, skeptics can say, "Oh, earthquakes are caused by this." But when Jesus returns, the pastors pointed out, it's not going to be missed. But that's not. We'll talk about that later. But once the Christians are gone, chaos ensues, and we start the 7-year tribulation, the 7 years. And the first 3.5 of years is that peace that's going to come with the Antichrist. Then the Jews see him
For what he is.
Just like
up in the temple claiming to be Christ. And they're going to go, no way. The scales are going to come off. Every single Jew is going to believe at that point.
Well, wait, but
Every single Israeli, every Jew in Israel will believe.
why would if they were Jews, then why wouldn't they go up?
Because
It happens
that
after.
happens at year.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't understand that the Jews are blinded.
Yeah,
They
so
don't have Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the Jews
No,
don't believe in Jesus. They only believe in God.
Wait, yeah, he just processed that.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
But you said, why didn't they go up?
It
Yeah.
means being
The
raptured.
Jewish people still cannot believe.
Because at the time of the rapture, they did not believe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And God's only going to take so that's important. That at the time of the rapture, and now we have the 7 years of tribulation. The first half are going to be a peaceful half. Then the Jews all realize he's the Antichrist, and he's going to go after them. He's going to kill them,
Maybe in comparison.
and so that's why they're to flee to the mountains. And God's going to somehow miraculously protect them. And in this Petra, they point out it could be any kind of supernatural, like the earth could open up and swallow the soldiers going after them.
Something super Michael will come.
Yeah, angels could protect them, whatever. So for that next 3.5 years, they will be protected in those mountains, and they'll be believers now. All of Israel, all of those people that God's heart has broken for now are going to be.
So, but once they're believers, even after they die, even after they're killed, the people who died from the Antichrist and his soldiers, they still go up to heaven, though, right?
If they're
Not
believers.
if they're believers.
See, but what if they weren't believers?
No, if they-
even after that, and
You
they
just
still
said not if
killed
they're
them?
not if they weren't.
Not if
believers.
they're not believers.
If they're not believers, no, they'll still go to hell. If they're believers, they'll still be saved.
Well-
But so if you become a believer after the rapture happens, you still have to live through it.
Yeah, you're gonna.
But you will,
More than
Yeah.
likely,
you'll go to heaven.
You'll be protected.
yeah.
Well, I'm talking about what if you weren't a believer during the rapture,
Uh-huh.
and then one of the Antichrist soldiers or the
Kills
Antichrist
you.
yeah.
Hell.
Yeah,
If you don't believe.
You have to believe in Jesus.
You
When
just
we say
have to
believe, it's Jesus.
I think the rapture is going to make a lot of non-believers believe.
Yeah.
But
Even if they know the very basic
Okay.
story.
You're right.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I know that he is worried about people in his life. So he's just trying to wrap his head around the
we all should be
possibilities.
worried.
I agree.
We're all worried. We're all worried.
And this is where your faith, your job
The
as a
urgency-
believer
There's urgency.
is to
here.
tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Not always easy, and not people don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's still our job, and that's what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's hard because I look at many of my friends and people that I care about who.
And there was a war. One of the pastors pointed out there was a war over there, and it was on a Sabbath, and nobody knew they were being attacked because they don't do anything. You know,
Mhm.
they don't
Everything
get their
shuts down.
phones up. Yeah,
Yep.
they had to fly planes through the cities to
Break the windows.
to notify them that they were being attacked,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why this is saying that they don't. Hope it's not on a
Sabbath day.
so you know what's going on. Hope you're not pregnant because you got to get to those mountains quick, and hope you're not nursing.
Just having the extra
You gotta
weight of a
go.
child.
Wait. What's the Sabbath day?
Sabbath, it's
their
Saturday.
Holy, like a church day.
So in the Old Testament, they had a day because God made the world in 6 days, and then on the seventh day He rested. They made that day holy, so they shut down businesses. People weren't working. People weren't tending to their crops or anything. They just let
And we
it
do
be.
that still today.
And that was
Some
even as
places still do
recent
that.
as like back in the 1970s and 80s. A lot of businesses were
Everything
not
shut
open
down
on Sunday.
Sundays.
That's
A
why
lot of
Chick-fil-A is not open on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're saying if this happens on
Yeah.
if
So
this happens on a
so-
Sabbath and you're not doing anything and no one's there to tell you, hey, hell's breaking loose. Good luck.
Yeah. So they'll realize it at 3.5 years that they've been duped, and because their eyes are gonna be open, they're gonna realize they've killed Jesus, and they're gonna be sad, and they're gonna realize their ancestors killed him, and they're gonna
Going to be a turning of the tides for sure.
for them, for that country. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
So I love this that we also have Jesus saying, if anybody says they're Jesus, they're not me.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't think it would be mistakable after.
Well, it's not. It's actually in here that it is not mistakable. So if, look, here's the Messiah. If they point to anyone and say, look, there he is, it's not him. If they say he's out in the woods, he's not there. If they say he's out in the desert, he's not there. If anyone on earth is claiming to be Jesus, they are not Jesus.
And that's how they might know, too, at 3.5 years. They're going to have this. They're reading this.
And let me just back up real quick to you
Right,
saying,
Or no, maybe they won't be reading this. But
who killed Jesus?
the Jews, they took him.
I think she didn't.
It was his plan. It was
Yeah,
God's
like-
plan.
We all did.
We all
We're all
did, yeah.
sinners. So we all killed Jesus.
But we weren't born back then. So,
But
we
he had
didn't.
to.
Literally, we didn't kill
I mean,
him.
but once you go that far with DNA, right?
Huh?
I mean,
What she means is, like, as a people, we killed Jesus. And for the Jewish people who were like, he's not the Messiah, kill him. And for the Romans who were like, get rid of him because he's causing problems, those are the people who are going to look back and be like, "Oh, my people did this. This is our people's fault."
And Lisa's saying we're those people.
Yeah,
'Cause we're
everyone
sinners.
is.
Yeah.
Because we're all sinners.
We're all sinners. But it was God's plan.
Matthew 24, verse 25. I have warned you.
Just so if I burst into flames,
Are you warm?
She's having a hot flash. This is not.
just in case I spontaneously combust.
This is not about sin.
that
This is
way.
not about anything like that. She's just having a hot flash.
Oh yeah, you know what I was thinking? I was doing that too. I was like, I use Sue's little fans.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
Oh, that's out in the car.
So you read through 28, right, Sue?
Yes.
I can't do it because the sweat is burning my eyes.
Well, it's okay. It's Lisa's
My
turn, so it's
turn.
okay.
Anyways. Alright, so 29 through 31.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
Alright. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
So here we have, at the very end of the 7 years, there's no more light.
Yeah, that was interesting.
God
the comments.
takes away. So obviously
No.
the 7 years.
The stars falling out of the sky.
Well, so that's an interpretation. Armstrong just said like the stars are just going to turn off too. Like they're just all not going to be there. I would fully believe meteors, but also he said it's the end of these days. So I don't know that that's
One of
true.
the pastors said it's going to get so bad beyond anything we can have, even like there will be no power grid. There will be no people will be living in caves,
and
there will be
and
no.
remember,
That was Armstrong.
Okay,
there's no faith. There's no kindness in people. So they're all going to be savage.
yeah. There's and this is going to be so bad that there will be no. There's going to be darkness that we can't even imagine because you can't go outside. There's some kind of stars, moons.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine?
And everything that comes out of the pit.
Not dark, and because there will be no grid, no
Right.
power.
But then everything is coming out of the pit.
Because during the 7 years,
Yeah.
everything gets so bad that there's just
The last 3.5 years. That this is the sign that everyone still living will recognize.
Right.
Because what comes then? They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with power and great glory. He's going to be so bright
Yeah.
in this deep, deep darkness that nobody's going to miss him.
It makes me think of the one painting I've seen of him at the table. There's the one.
The Last Supper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean with all the people?
Yeah, and then there's all that light around.
Around him? Yeah. That's the Last Supper.
basically everything is going to go entirely pitch black.
Yeah.
Your mom
I'm
had a
just
cat named after that. I'm sorry, buddy.
But we read in other books about the Shekinah glory of God. It's so bright, like you can't even look at him. And there's not going to be in the new, which we're going to get into next week. There's not going to be any. The world's going to be all new, and our light is going to be Jesus. He's going to light up the new world.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not going to be any darkness ever, and we're not going to know. We're not going to remember the earth we have now, so it's not going to be strange to us.
See, when you say that, like he's coming out of the clouds, like you mean like he's gonna like form like giant?
He's coming from heaven down to earth.
Okay, because I'm picturing it like a giant like cloud figure, like him made out of clouds.
No.
No, it's him. Like
He
on
could,
clouds.
but like it's easier to just be him.
Yeah.
And
Plus, it's going to be
he's not
pitch black.
gonna-
No one's going to see it anyway.
He's not going to be happy.
And
He's
he
gonna
will
be
send his
angry.
angels and a great sound of a trumpet. And they will gather together his elect from the four winds from one end. But that in verse 30, the tribes. When I first read, what does yours say? Verse 30.
All the nations.
All the nations of the earth. Okay.
I think tribes is better because if we all go to chaos and all the cities and the world's being like born again, it's really going back to like how we were.
Right. Very
prehistoric.
primitive.
That, but also it's a parallel to the tribes of Israel.
But no, it's not Israel.
No, it's not. It's a
everybody
parallel
but-
to it.
It's everybody but Israel.
It's a parallel to it. That's all.
Yeah, because and tribes are all those who don't believe. They're the ones who are going to mourn. Israel's no longer going to mourn because now they're believers. At 3.5 years, they all became believers. So it can't include tribes. Can't include Israel anymore.
And then they will gather to the left from the four winds. That's 31.
So that's going to be the tribulation saints, like the
Yeah.
people that are still left that still believe. Anyone who's left at the end who is saved.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So those are the people at the end that he'll take with him.
Right.
Yeah. Who's elect?
So Armstrong said there's 3 groups at this time. It's
Oh yeah.
144,000.
yeah, well, it's the people that don't believe, the tribes. It's the people that do believe, the elect, and it's the people that are already with Jesus who are coming back with him.
Now, see,
Oh right.
Brett
believe
said something
them.
different. Brett said that the elect. Well, and this could be talking about something different.
Yeah, I think
Okay, it's
so.
2 different things. Yeah,
I think
because
so.
Brett said the elect is 3 groups. He said it's the Jews, the Christians, and the tribulation saints. That's when they address
And
the
that's what
elect.
he's-
So that's
It's
just the
that.
general term of like believers as God's elect. It's some people believe in that. So that's
and he just broke it down.
yeah.
Yeah.
But those are the 3 groups of the elect. So that is a different thing. What I'm saying is I'm calling this the tribulation saints, the elect in this specific
Okay,
context.
gotcha.
And they said that 144,000 is 12,000 from each tribe?
Right.
That's the first I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, weren't you? I thought you did this.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, we did
chapter
that.
7.
I was
You
gonna
didn't-
say.
No, in Revelation we didn't do Revelation.
Oh, we didn't. Okay,
So
but
you were there, I thought for.
I didn't remember.
Did we not get there?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It is in the Bible. It's in
That
Revelation.
God's going to pick 12,000 of each of the 12 tribes
Right.
to be
the
to
descendants.
save them.
Yeah.
None of them will be killed. Other believers can get killed of them, but those he's going to say
But it's
12,000, which
interesting
I thought
when
was
you look at
kind of
that list.
amazing.
Which I guess we'll get to when we get to Revelation sometime.
Yeah, if we
But-
get there.
It's not the original 12 tribes.
It's not.
No.
Would they add some? Take away.
Yeah, take away
Did they take away the priests?
and put in.
Or some?
Well, we'll do that when we
Okay.
get to it.
Alright, that was good.
So, I guess here's the question, because here at 32 it kind of splits into a different lesson. While staying on this topic, it's kind of splitting into a different path of it. So do we want to...
We should stop where we are.
I was going to say, do we stop where we are here at 8:15, or do we try and finish it tonight?
Huh? We're almost.
Uh,
We got it. We're almost done. I say we finish it.
Well,
It's a lot though.
it is a lot, and,
It's a
and we
lot.
like to talk a lot, and we kind of have to catch Luke up on some stuff. So, how about we do a little vote?
Sue's going to the bathroom.
Huh?
No, I'm going to get some.
She wants some pie.
So Sue's a vote for stopping.
What time?
I think we should stop
I
here
kinda
and
think we should
start
stop,
again
too.
next week. There are questions that we should be answering for Luke to catch him up. So I would rather spend a little time on that so that he's a little bit better prepared for next week.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's
It
a
is
lot.
It's dramatic.
And the lesson
Yeah.
of the fig
It's-
tree.
yeah.
On the
Back
on the
counter.
back there.
Next
Alright.
to the sink.
So we will end off here, and just know that we're going to be telling Luke a lot of things after this.
Praying out.
Yes, who was praying out?
I'm going to pray out.
Or
I'm coming.
Oh,
Take your time.
prayer
I just
fast.
stay here.
Tanya. her
My cousin.
Cousin.
And Jack, is a 26-year-old young man who has advanced brain.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Who does? Who was that?
His name's Jack. Jack, yeah.
and my friends, because I have to talk to them about this on Saturday.
Okay, guys. God, thank you so much for our time tonight with you. This is interesting and emotional and super educational, and we are so grateful that you have given us this book to go by, that these warnings are real and that they mean something. And I'm so grateful that my heart is a heart that can believe and that can understand these things, and that I am with a group of like-minded people who love you and are just trying to walk better with you and do what you're asking us to do and lead the lives that you're asking us to lead. And while it's hard and we're watching this world and things are a struggle and it is scary stuff to watch, we are watching prophecy come alive right in front of our faces. And it's a scary time, but we know, like you say, that you have all of this under control. We are preparing like you're asking us to prepare. We're learning what you're trying to teach us, and we're just so grateful for the lessons that you've provided. We have a lot going on this week, Lord. Every one of us has amazing lives, but still needs. You know what most of those are, but we do have some special requests tonight for Jack, Lisa's friend, who is suffering with advanced cancer. Tara, I'm sorry, for Tara's friend Colleen, who is also suffering. We pray for Elaine's healing and Tanya's healing. It's kind of shocking. I'm sad that she wasn't able to physically be present tonight, but it was so good to have her with us again. And hopefully next week she'll be well enough to join. There's kind of a lot going on upstairs here, Lord, and as always, this house needs to be filled with you and with prayer and with your love. Always so much going on, but I'm really proud that she coped through her day, and she's coping now, and I just ask for strength and clarity and reason and some sense of calm that you can provide that will help her get through it, Lord. I know that there are people in this room that have people that they care about and people that they love, that they are concerned because they're not believers, Lord. Let them be strong if an opportunity presents itself to share your wisdom, and let them understand that you are real, that you are here every day with us, walking with us, blessing us, and guiding us through this life. Thank you so much, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Have a good night. We'll pick up again